Today, selling pressure continues to hamper crypto markets, with Bitcoin tumbling as low as $80,000. And Eric Trump responds to recent criticism from Democratic lawmakers over his family's crypto ties as part of an exclusive conversation at the Clear Street Disruptive Technology Conference. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. We're closing out another week of losses for the crypto market as Bitcoin's steepening decline continues to drive liquidations and uncertainty. By noon Eastern, the cryptocurrency dropped to the $84,000 level, but that's honestly an improvement from earlier in the morning when it tumbled as low as $80,000. Ether, it is in the red as well, falling to $27.55. And XRP dropped below $2. All three digital currencies are deeply in the red over the past 7 days. Bitcoin moved 10.3% lower, while Ether shed 12.3%. XRP fared even worse, sliding nearly 14% since last Friday. Crypto World's Talia Kaplan sat down with strategy founder and executive chairman Michael Saylor at Clear Street's Disruptive Technology Conference in Palm Beach, Florida yesterday. And during that conversation, he discussed the recent crypto sell-off.
We're seeing a crypto sell-off, Bitcoin falling below $90,000. And obviously this is a volatile asset. Anything can happen before the end of the year. But what do you think is the main driver behind the current sell-off in Bitcoin?
I think there have been 15 hard drawdowns over the last 15 years. I think we're overdue for one. This is just natural deleveraging of the asset. It happens every 6 months to a year. I've lived through 5 big ones since 2020.
Now, on Monday, Strategy revealed that it bought more than $835 million in Bitcoin. The company holds a total of 649,870 Bitcoin as of November 16th. Saylor also discussed that recent move.
This week, you announced a sizable buy, but for weeks, you have been making these purchases, but not as large as this one. So generally speaking, what is the strategy behind when you decide to strike and buy more Bitcoin?
Well, our business is in the business of issuing digital credit. So we create credit backed by Bitcoin and we sell that credit. So last week, we sold about $130 million worth of treasury credit in the form of Stretch, STRC. And then we sold a European credit instrument called Stream, STRE. And that was about a $700 million issuance. So those credit instruments pay dividends. They could be 10% dividends at par. They're powered by Bitcoin over time. The credit investors are buying the credit. We take the capital that we acquire from selling the credit, we buy Bitcoin with it. So our Bitcoin buys are really driven by the credit markets.
All right, for our main story, while at the Disruptive Tech Conference, Crypto World's Talia Kaplan also sat down with Eric Trump, co-founder of American Bitcoin and the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, for an exclusive interview. Now, as part of that wide-ranging conversation, they discussed recent criticism of his family's crypto ventures, a letter that Senate Democrats sent to the DOJ and Treasury Department just this week, pushing for a probe into World Liberty Financial and his real estate tokenization projects.
You released your memoir last month, Under Siege, it's called, and in it you talk about crypto a little bit. Okay. You say that your family got into crypto because you were debanked by traditional financial institutions, and you say that Bitcoin and crypto is an avenue to financial freedom.
Yes.
Why was it important for you to mention crypto in your memoir, and take us through how you were even exposed to crypto to begin with?
Not only was I debanked, so many people in this country were debanked, and every day, millions of people around the world are debanked for no reason whatsoever. I happened to be debanked because my father wore a hat that was red that said, "Make America Great Again." And I started getting letters. I got a letter from Capital One, effectively closing 300 of our corporate accounts. I got a letter from JP Chase, closing 52 of our corporate accounts. I got letters from Bank of America. These are the largest financial institutions on earth. Closing our accounts for no reason. These are golf courses, these are condominium associations, these are hotels, these are restaurants that we have in the portfolio. They didn't give a damn. They wanted to take the rails out from under us. They wanted to debank us. They wanted to deplatform us, and they wanted to hurt us. And I realized very quickly that the very same people who were coming after us, those banks were also going after people in cryptocurrency who just wanted to improve the system. Why is it that you can't send a wire transfer after 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, right? Now that makes complete sense to me as a business guy. Right? JP Morgan wants to hold your money, for 72 hours over the course of a weekend. They want to take the interest associated with tens and tens of billions of dollars that are sitting in purgatory Is that fair to the average consumer? And by the way, is that financial freedom? You literally can't move your money for a 48 or 72 hour period of time. It's insane. It's asinine, right? And so, in cryptocurrency, you can move unlimited amounts of money for virtually zero fees, no middleman, none of these crazy exorbitant banking fees at 11 o'clock on a Saturday, from your cell phone while having a glass of, wine with your husband or your wife. Isn't that financial freedom? Isn't that modern finance? Same thing. I mean, try finance at home. You go through a process for 120 days and know your customer with a bank that you banked at for, 30 years. Does that seem current? Does that seem technologically advanced? It's not. The banks have had a monopoly on the financial system for years, and they did everything they could to not embrace cryptocurrency until they realized that cryptocurrency had become so big that if they didn't embrace it, they died. They saw the growth of Coinbase. They saw the growth of Robinhood. They saw the growth of DeFi. They saw the trillions going into Bitcoin and in these major capital markets. And now all of a sudden, all the banks are embracing it. But I got into cryptocurrency because I didn't have a damn choice. They debanked me for doing absolutely nothing wrong. These are golf courses. These are golf courses in upstate New York. These are restaurants. These are assets that have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of employees and members. Literally, you're getting a letter, your accounts are hereby canceled and you can't pay your employees. They can't put bread on their table because they didn't like your political affiliation. It wasn't even, it was my father's political affiliation. He was the one. I'm not a politician. I'm not in politics. And yet we were canceled like we were dogs. And honestly, it was a blessing in disguise because it made me find cryptocurrency, and I'm so happy I did.
I like that positive outlook. Well, American Bitcoin is your latest venture into crypto, your family's latest venture into crypto. Another co-founder, your brother, Donald Trump Jr. You're also involved with World Liberty Financial, and this is backed by your father, the president. But there has been a lot of criticism surrounding your father's involvement in crypto, especially from Democratic lawmakers in Washington, D.C. Your brother told CNBC last month that these concerns about conflicts of interest are complete nonsense. When I spoke with you back in September, you said there is complete separation between church and state. But, the criticism keeps coming. Most recently, more criticism came after your father granted a pardon to Binance founder Changpeng Zhao. Critics pointed to a $2 billion deal Binance was involved in that utilized a Trump family-tied stablecoin. So what's your reaction to that and all the concerns about potential conflicts of interest your father has been getting for his ties to crypto?
There are no conflicts of interest. My father has absolutely nothing to do with cryptocurrency. We started World Liberty Financial. We're incredibly proud of it. Fastest growing stablecoin on earth. And stablecoins, by the way, are going to bring trillions of dollars back into the US, right? I really think stablecoins save the US dollar, bringing trillions of dollars back to our shores. My father has zero involvement with our company. He has zero involvement with cryptocurrency. You mentioned CZ. If I've met CZ twice in my life, I wouldn't have his phone number. I'd have no way to get in contact. CZ happens to own the largest exchange in the world. If you're in cryptocurrency, congratulations. You probably transact in some way, shape, and form through Binance. Now, in my opinion, CZ got a raw deal. I don't know him. He's not a friend of mine. I think I shook his hand maybe once at a conference. I know nothing about CZ, right? I do think he got a raw deal, no different than everybody else in cryptocurrency, because the Biden administration was going after absolutely everybody in the industry. And that's why America lost the crypto industry. That's why China was literally, China, Korea, they were eating our lunch. That's why the Middle East was eating our lunch until my father came along and embraced it. But we started World Liberty Financial when they had my father and I in a courthouse for doing absolutely nothing wrong. And since then, we've won every single one of those cases. As they were trying to put my father in jail for 91 fake felony counts, again, every single one of which has been overturned by the court system, right? As I was sitting in those wooden pews, we were working on World Liberty. We were working on building a stablecoin, which is wholly American. This is when all the major networks gave him a 0% chance. They were putting his mugshot on t-shirts. My father's always believed in cryptocurrency because he just believes in technology. He believes in technological advancement. Why is it that every other thing around us can advance technologically, whether it be cell phones, whether it be aircraft, whether it be our military might, whether it be artificial intelligence, whether it be power generation? But what, crypto can't? He can't believe in the advent of cryptocurrency. Of course, it made a lot of sense because our traditional banking system is broken. And last but not least, we didn't have a damn choice. We had to get into cryptocurrency. We didn't have any other avenues. We didn't have any banks. The largest financial institutions shut us out. And you know what's really interesting? Now they're all coming back and they're kissing our you-know-whats. Every single day, the very same people who canceled us, oh yes, we'd love to have a relationship with you. We'd love to have a relationship with you. Our financial system is so dishonest. It is so incredibly dishonest. And I would love nothing more than to see blockchain replace so many of these institutions that have been so punitive to so many people. Let me give you one other secret. The people in our financial system who have always had the advantage are guys like us, right? Powerful companies with famous last names, with a lot of zeros on their balance sheet. They have been the worst for the average retail consumer who doesn't stand a chance against a traditional financial system. They have no leverage, they have no negotiation power, and they get feed to death. Crypto solves all of that. Blockchain solves all of that. There is nothing that can't be done on blockchain that JP Morgan Chase can do, that Bank of America, that can't be done better, faster, cheaper, and more transparently. And I think that's a wonderful thing for humanity. I think that's a wonderful thing for the people of our country. And I think that's a wonderful thing in putting real checks and balances on the very people who weaponize the financial system against people that they didn't like for political reasons.
So just this week, two Democratic senators, specifically Senators Elizabeth Warren and Jack Reed, sent a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, pushing for a probe into World Liberty Financial for allegedly, reportedly selling tokens to businesses that engage with North Korea and Russia. I have a letter right here. In it, they write that by selling these tokens, World Liberty Financial has taken money from people with open and obvious connections to enemies of the United States and raised national security risks by giving them a, quote, seat at the table to set WLF's forward-looking governance policies.
It's absolutely laughable. We know your customer on every single person that buys a token from us. It's absolutely laughable. Listen, Elizabeth Warren's been coming after my father for years. You know that. I mean, Elizabeth Warren was, the very same person who was saying that I was colluding with Russia during the Russia hoax. She wanted to hang us for treason. Give me a break, right? The same person who lied that she was a Native American when she's got about 0.0001% Native American. I put zero stock into what Elizabeth Warren says. We run a great company. I have absolutely nothing. I have nothing to do with the administration. I stay out of policy. Frankly, I've had enough politics after a 10-year period of time. I run a great company. I run a great hospitality company. I'm incredibly proud of the crypto projects we have. I believe this is the future of modern day finance. I believe Bitcoin is going to be the digital gold. I believe that stablecoin is how we're going to transact all financial transactions. And I believe it's going to bring trillions of dollars back into the United States from countries all around the world. And so I couldn't be more proud of our ventures. And I couldn't be more proud that these ventures started before my father was in office, when they were trying to imprison him, when everybody gave us a 0% chance of winning. But listen, this is politics 101. This isn't anything that we haven't dealt with for years. It is what it is. It's, to me at this point, it's kind of water off a duck's back.
Now, you mentioned that you also are involved in hospitality, obviously. You're also the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, overseeing the company's vast real estate portfolio around the world. And just this week, the Trump Organization announced the world's first ever tokenized hotel development project. What was the reasoning behind that move? During the announcement, your team said that this would give investors access to what you describe as a high growth real estate investment from the start, rather than tokenizing the completed asset. So talk to me about the main driver behind this project.
I think we're going to see a world in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, when you look back, where pretty much every asset class is tokenized in some way, shape, or form. If Taylor Swift comes out with a new album, why is she going out to Paramount Records or one of these big, record label houses? Why doesn't she just go out to those Swiftie fans who would invest in her, who would invest in her project, who would want to be partners in that project? And why can't that be tokenized? Why can't some girl who absolutely loves Taylor Swift invest $200 of her money or $500 of her money and buy part of a tokenized album that can live forever, they can throw off possible cash flow, etc.? You're going to have the arts that are tokenized. You're going to have music that's tokenized. You're going to have Hollywood that's tokenized. You're going to have real estate that's tokenized. So I really announced this on 2 projects. One, Trump International Hotel and Tower Dubai, which we're building right in the middle of the city. It's going to be one of the most spectacular buildings anywhere in the world. A project that we're doing in the Maldives, also in hospitality. That's what I do every. But I mean, why not give somebody the ability to have some level of ownership? Why is it that I should only be going out to Deutsche Bank, or why is it that I should only be going out to, JP Morgan Chase in order to be, or Wells Fargo, or you name the lender out there to actually get in loan financing? If people believe in us, if people believe in our brand, if people believe in any project, why can't they invest? Why not give people the freedom of being able to, invest or be a part of in some way, shape, or form, projects that are aspirational to them, projects that they otherwise believe in? Why is that only reserved for the select few? And that's what tokenization is going to do. Tokenization is going to massively broaden the market. It's going to massively broaden the opportunities to finance. It's going to allow investors, again, who just would not have the access to certain investments to be able to, join something they like, join something that they believe in, join a family they believe in, join a brand that they believe in, invest in art in a different way. Why couldn't you take the Mona Lisa, using that as a silly example, and get 1 million people together and buy a piece of art, and they each own some denomination of what that piece of art is? Now, they couldn't have afforded the Mona Lisa or whatever the respective art piece was without being able to do that. They wouldn't have had the financial capacity, but now they can. Now they can own a piece of whatever they believe is beautiful, whatever they believe has value. That's what tokenization is. We're going to do it for art. We're going to do it for Hollywood. We're going to do it for commodities. We're going to do it for the oil and gas industry. We're going to do it, and we're going to trade on stable coins. A lot of that can be done in DeFi using smart contracts, where you don't need middlemen, you don't need fees, you don't need expenses of the big banks, you don't need foreign exchange. It's going to be a very powerful industry, and it's coming very quickly.
So is it fair to say that the Trump organization could potentially get more involved in tokenization and release more projects like this?
Well, listen, obviously I'm a hard asset guy. I love real estate, and obviously I love the hard asset. I love the cryptocurrency space, and I think there's a natural bridge between the two, and it makes a lot of sense on a lot of fronts. I would say the biggest downside to real estate, to hard assets, is the amount of middlemen that put their fingers into a transaction. Think about real estate brokers. They go 5-6% commissions. They walk through your house for 15 minutes once, and they're taking 5-6% of the value of your home. Give me a break, right? Can that kind of look at title? Title can't be conveyed in a better, more efficient way using blockchain technology than through title companies, which are absolutely massacring people in fees and expenses and closing costs, right? All of that can be done using DeFi. All of that can be done using blockchain technologies. And I think this mission to tokenize is very, very strong. And I think that's where society is going to head.
Eric Trump also discussed a feature of the Bitcoin mining company that he co-founded, American Bitcoin, and provided his outlook for Bitcoin's price. You'll be able to check out the full interview over at cnbc.com/cryptoworld. That's all for this week, but we are back again on Monday, and we'll see you then.